Cool. Well, hey everyone, Pastor Justin here. I am live here with, oh my God, it's like not necessarily even a throwback, but it's like 4 or 5 years ago with an amazing, amazing young woman who I believe is just going to really, really shape the future of women's college basketball. Her name is Jasmine Jenkins. She was an amazing leader. So this is, you didn't even know this, Jasmine, I'll tell you. So I gave my time to certain players very, very sparingly because I was like, there has to be a level of like, you're still with the man upstairs. But then also, like, there's some amazing athletes and people on our team. And Jasmine was one of those who was in the gym early, left the gym late. She was always perfecting her craft. And you could always see how she was watching good coaching. Not all coaching, but good coaching. And it kind of positioned her to where she is now. And I'm super excited to welcome to Made for Mondays, to Providence. Hopefully you come out here one day. To Providence for the first time at Congdon Street, as well as on our Made for Mondays podcast, Jasmine Jenkins. Welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you, Justin, for having me. I'll just be honest with you. I don't know when I'll ever come to Providence. It's too cold for me up there, but I'm excited to be joining you and, never miss a Monday. So let's get into it.
Awesome. Jasmine, tell us a little bit about you. So how you got to, like, what are you doing now? How you got to where you are? And like, what are to see the bits and pieces of your story that got you to be the coach you are now?
Yeah, so I left Vandy around 2016, and right out of college, I moved back to my hometown and, job searching, figuring out life. And my first job was an athletic director for a Boys and Girls Club of Lanier, which is in Gainesville. And it was kind of a full circle for me because I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club, and my supervisor at that time had been the athletic director when I was coming up. So it was just a full circle. I enjoyed doing nonprofit work, but I found that it was really draining because, the nonprofit road is just, you have to be resourceful, you have to be a go-getter, and you just have to like really, really fall in love with what you do because you do it 80 hours a week.
That's real.
So yeah, I was there for an hour and a half, and while I enjoyed it, it was just way too draining for me. I wanted to kind of get out of my hometown, and so I one day I was just fed up, and I decided to quit my job and go back to school to be a grad assistant. And hindsight is 2020. I could have saved, I could have did all this and that, but I think I had just reached a point in my life where I needed to change, and I needed it right then and there. Because, I think a month before I quit, I got into a really bad car accident. And then ever since that car accident, it felt like everything that I wanted to be and become couldn't wait any longer. So I just decided to quit and
That's real.
go back to school. Yeah, so I ended up, spending about six to 7 months in Pennsylvania as a grad assistant. I was supposed to be there for 2 years. And again, the reason why I'm not visiting you in Providence is because I hated the Northeast. Absolutely hated it. It was just too cold. And I knew it wasn't for me when I was talking to a local there. And she was like, I was complaining about how the sun never comes out. And she's like, you have to get a happy light. And I'm like, what the heck is a happy light?
Oh my God.
And she was like, it's an LED light that you put up and it makes you feel like the sun is out. And I'm like, that's my cue. So
I have one of those too, unfortunately.
I'll just leave it there. But anyway, so I was there for 6 months, pursuing my MBA. And I just wasn't happy with, the program I was in. I wasn't happy with the school I was coaching at. So I decided to move again. So I spent a little time back at home in Atlanta, and through a long string of just universal happenings, I guess, like universe happenings, I ended up getting an interview at a school in California. And it was just a great situation. And so
awesome.
I figured it out. I was broke. I figured out how to move out here.
Wow.
And, so I guess this will be a year coming up in August.
That's awesome.
In California.
Well, that's awesome.
So It's been a journey, man.
Yeah. No, what gave you the gall, like to quit like that? Because I know I've been there before in certain jobs. Like literally when I was working even at Vandy, Candace had to push me out. Like she gave me my final day.
Yeah.
Right? She was like, "You have to go. Like you've outgrown this. You need to move on." And I was just too afraid. Like, even when I left my former job, I was like doing work for them 3 months after I finished because I felt so bad like leaving.
Yeah.
Right? What pushed you to that place? Like I know you mentioned a little bit, but like pushed you so at when you were in Pennsylvania as well as you were in Georgia to
Yeah.
just choose you over the dollar and the work.
Yeah, I feel like it was a lesson that I actually learned at Vanderbilt, and it's always tough when you have to ask yourself, okay, am I giving up or am I letting go?
Wow.
Because I think there's a very thin line between like, okay, you're giving up on something and you're letting it go too early, or hey, this is not healthy for you and you have to like let it go and get rid of it. And that's okay. And so I think, trying to discern between the two has always been tough. Um, but I think also like the reason why people don't let go is because you have to recreate yourself. And so I think just taking on the challenge of being okay with starting over and over and over again until you figure out what you want, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't like this in my life and I don't like that. And it's a simple no. That's all it takes. You have to decide for yourself and take on the challenge of recreating yourself and understanding that it's okay to start over.
That's real. Thanks for sharing that, Jasmine. How have you taken your experiences from your time starting as a freshman at Vandy to even where you are now in the ways that you're coaching and leading the young women that are coming in to your program?
Say that again. You
How are
broke
you
up.
taking your experiences from like what you've learned from the first time you even picked up a ball to where you are now, and how you're
Yeah.
coaching and leading the young women whose parents are trusting them really to your care, your leadership, your guidance.
Right. Well, I think like first and foremost, like I come from nothing. Like I come from the hood. I come from, low socioeconomic status, domestic abuse, like divorced parents, single mom. And if it wasn't with my experiences, like for my experiences with my coaches and the leaders that were in my life, like I would not be able to say that I'm where I'm at today.
Wow.
And so I think I take that personally when it comes to every student athlete that I encounter, because I understand the importance of, third party caretakers, if that makes sense, when it comes to your after school programs, when it comes to your pastors in your churches, when it comes to your teachers. Those third party educators, those third party caretakers are so important, because sometimes it's just a matter of being a buffer for that kid, for whatever kid that you're teaching. Sometimes it's just a matter of like showing them that you love them. And so I take that very personally, because if it wasn't for my experiences with my coaches, who knows where I would have ended up, So I take that, very personally. And I think it's just a matter of, you know, respecting the process of growth.
Yeah.
In children, especially as college coaches, because like you said, parents are trusting you with their kids for 4 years.
Yeah.
See them every single day for about 11 months out of the year for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's your duty. It's your duty to help them grow.
Wow. That's a lot. And when you put it like that, that's true. 11 months out of the year, because you guys really only get a chance to go
Around
home.
the clock.
Yes, that is real. That is real life. So what do you do, Jasmine? So with that, because that's a lot of weight, right? How are you taking care of Jasmine in this phase of your life now, where you're no longer the one, like I mentioned earlier before we got on here, like you're no longer the one being told where to set up, what plays to run. You're teaching them and coaching them. How are you taking care of yourself as you transition from being a mentee to mentor, where you're the leader? What do you do?
I think first and foremost, kind of how we discussed earlier, just by choosing myself and whatever that looks like at the moment. I think when I was working as an athletic director in a nonprofit, I was working 80 hours a week. I think by choosing to protect my time is like the most vital way that I choose myself. Because if you're always giving your time away, like if you don't manage the margin between your load and your limit, like you have no freedom to give. Like if you're always operating at your limit, then there's no margin, there's no space, and space is freedom. So if you have neither of those, like I can't give anything to anyone else because I don't have it for myself. And so like I protect my time I'm intentional about protecting my time. Like I probably won't pick up my phone on the weekends.
That's real.
Yeah, like I take time to go to the beach. I take my time to work out. I take my time to do my yoga, and I don't rush it. And I am very protective of my personal time with my family, and just being intentional in those ways.
Yeah. That's real. That's something that uh, I thought I had down, and then I had a kid, right? And then my time went crazy, and then I'm
Your
just
time is not your time.
ever for the next 18 years. And then, but then like I'm personally, as you said that, I'm just personally getting to a place now where I'm learning that no is a complete sentence, right? And that, as you mentioned, load and limit, that is very powerful, to not live at your limit, right? But to balance a load. That is powerful, Jasmine. Wow. And I can only imagine what that means as it relates to like you and leading others and teaching them as well. So what's some advice that you, I guess, are living by? Like I've heard a number of it, which is amazing. It might be the same, but some advice that maybe somebody gave you that you've taken in or and you're holding on to right now to keep you at a level space, a good space, and to keep choosing you over and over.
Yeah, I would just say be gentle with yourself. That's what I tell myself every day, because my self-love looks different every single day, and it's just being gentle with yourself and giving yourself that leeway to just change your mind or change your plans, or just have a space where you can just be, and no matter what form that takes on at that moment, and do it without judgment, because I think a lot of times we get into a routine of like judging ourselves. I know for me, like as a former athlete, I'm like, oh, I didn't work out today, like I'm gonna get fat and blah blah blah, and it's just like, no, actually you worked out for the last 2 weeks. I think you can afford to take a day off.
That's real.
So just being gentle with yourself and understand that you're doing the best you can with what you have at that moment.
I cannot wait to see you at a Power 5 school. And I would be like, I know her. And I'm not gentle with my praise. I can't wait. You sound like an amazing person to be on a podcast. Do you have a podcast or something coming out, Jasmine?
So I actually do. My friend and one of my best friends, him, Rob Cross. He also went to Vandy with us. Him and I are constructing a podcast called The Bench. And I think, Justin, a little bit about sports. So the bench is a really hard place to be. And I think when you're on the bench, that's when you have those hard conversations that are uncomfortable, that are raw, and that, may create a lot of emotion, but they still need to be had. And so that was our purpose for creating the bench, is just to create a space where people can come and have really, really raw conversation. I think sometimes we kind of microdose rawness and, disparage the integrity of, conversation, because we're so there's a book called A New Earth and by Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about how there's a dramaturgical theory. So technically, whenever two people are interacting, it's really four people, because it's me and my ego talking to you and Justin's ego. Wow. And so it's really four people having a conversation instead of just the two, because there's so many frills, right? So we want to take away those frills and get down to like Jasmine and Justin talking, having real conversation, and promoting and like engaging in real healing.
Yeah. How do you differentiate with that from what's raw and what's authentic, right? Because I hear that a lot. Like a buzzword 3 years ago was authentic, right? And then when I was growing up, it was like, what is it? Keeping it 100. And it's ridiculous to me, because I feel like we're at this place now in the world where, like you said, we need people who are willing to have uncut conversations. How are you guys differentiating between, I don't know, PC rawness and actual legitimate raw conversation? Because it seems like even what you're saying to me today is like you're literally coaching at a school like, yeah, I quit 2 jobs, right? So it's like that's raw, right? that's real, right? And so how are you guys differentiate? And you too, differentiating between PC rawness and actual legitimate uncut diamonds?
Yeah, I think that like the on the Likert scale, it would be like, how uncomfortable does a conversation make you? Is this comfortable Are you adding anything to kind of promote your own agenda? And also, Justin, it's really like an intangible concept, but I think when you're talking with someone and you look into their eyes, you can 100% tell if they're present and there and like authentic or not. Especially as a pastor, I'm sure you have a really good sense of like just reading people. And I think even though that's intangible and it may look different for every person you meet, I think you can 100% tell if someone is like present and authentic.
That's real. That's real. Jasmine, thank you for this. And like I told you before, but you guys please go support their podcast once it comes out. I think it'll be absolutely great. Rob's a great guy. And I wish to please give him my best when you talk to him again.
I will.
I haven't talked to him in a second, but Rob's a great dude. Jasmine's absolutely amazing. Jasmine, if somebody wanted to follow you online or connect with you, what would be the best way they can find you?
Well, I don't do Facebook too much, but my Instagram is JQJ15, and then my Twitter is at JenkinsJ_15. So I'm pretty active on that. Follow me. I would love to engage.
Sweet. Yeah, and Jasmine's cool. We have a really unique followership on here. We have some, like, just really, for me, I've been really intentional the last year about young leaders and people. I think the world needs leaders, not a bunch of people to just follow behind, and people who are willing to think their own way, create their own paths, and get off the freeway and get on the side streets and create it, right? And realize like the road less traveled is always faster because nobody's on it, right? And so, so it's been a really great, we have entrepreneurs and folks like that. And I really think exactly what you're saying will push them on this Monday to be everything that they're called to be. So Jasmine, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Justin. It was nice to be with you.
You guys, listen, have an amazing, amazing day. Get out of your AM pajamas to your PM pajamas. Wear a mask when you go outside and be the best. We have a chance. We're going to say our affirmation in a second, and then you guys can go on about your days. I pray the best for you. Have a good one. Jasmine, I'm going to end the recording.
Thanks, Justin.